Welcome. This is an audio experience with Maximizing Moments with Milton. Hello, Maximizers. This is Milton Herring at miltonherring.com. Thank you for joining this episode, this 2-on-1, with my good friend Jeff Chant, who is joining us today. Would you say hello, Jeff?
Hi, everyone.
Just a little bit about Jeff's background. Jeff is known as a thoughtful, engaging presenter and a compassionate coach who closes the gaps between seemingly separate worlds with his deep understanding of both the human condition and his strategic business focus. Drawing on his experience in pastoral psychology and education, combined with his years as an international corporate executive and consultant, Jeff encourages us to accept that we prosper when we are both people and profit focused. In a unique way, Jeff works with organizations to connect them to their people and purpose as much as their bottom line. With 20 years experience leading, advising, and coaching to a range of organizations and companies, Jeff limits the required clarity for results, instills the required clarity for results and accountability, as well as culture and care and compassion. So thanks for joining me, Jeffrey. I appreciate your time and energy today. And wow, your bio is very intriguing and wonderful. And I want you to, if there's any context you can add, catching us up to today, how you got to this point in your life, and what brought you here.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for having me on, and hello to your audience. I guess when you read my bio, or even worse, maybe when you look at my CV or resume, I've had an interesting career for sure. Let me sort of just give a little bit of context, because it'll help you understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I would say growing up, I was very entrepreneurial, very interested in business. Was all set to take a business degree, but at the same time was also very active in my church, a large Protestant denomination here in Canada, and was never one of those kids that kind of left the church. I'd always kind of just been involved, and always too felt that we have a purpose and we should try to discern what that is. And without all the details, Milton, I felt, that's what I'm going to do. So I did an undergraduate degree, and then I went and did a master's in divinity, and was eventually ordained in the United Church of Canada, and served in ministry professionally in different places for about 10 years. And what I discovered is, not only in ministry, but working with not-for-profits and other organizations, is I was always trying to bring this an entrepreneurship to it. How can we generate more sustainable revenue? How can we think deeper about our brand and our product, so to speak, which is not language, a lot of not-for-profits like to necessarily hear, or they didn't then anyway. They really believe they're about something bigger, which in lots of ways they are, but you're not going to exist without sort of the business acumen and rigor to go along with it. And I can say early in my life, I really felt I had to separate sort of this purpose-driven, meaningful side of my life and my business side. And at that time, I did have to do that in order, I think, to make the choice clearly. But I kept kind of bringing this business acumen into the not-for-profit organizations I was in, and I think had good success with that. And then there was a point where I felt, I'm gonna regret if I don't sort of jump into the business side as well. So I started my own organizational consulting practice with an international group, and I grew that practice in Canada. And of course, what I discovered is, one, businesses don't have it nearly together around even the acumen side that we might think they do. But two was that workplaces really needed, more compassion, that, you can actually care about people. And people were coming to me for that. As an executive, I was, coaching other executives and kind of dealing with the people-y kind of problems in the organization. So really, my work now is an integration of those two things, and my company, I call it Magnanimous. Magnanimous from the Latin means big or great, and animus means mind, spirit. So I talk about individuals and organizations that need to have great capacity or great mind, great thinking, great business practices, and they need to have great care, great intention, and that when you put kind of heart and mind together, that's where we get the most powerful, influential leaders and organizations. And so that's really what my work is focused on now.
Wonderful. Now, when you made that switch with the meaningful side versus the business side, when did that switch happen for you? I know you said you start getting asked questions about the people, the soft side of business.
Mhm.
When did that make that? When did you make that switch internally that this can work together?
That's a good question because I think when I was working in the not-for-profit side, you know, I was kind of bringing this business practice to it, but always feeling like it didn't belong, right? That it's sort of foreign, and I experienced that too from people in those organizations. And here's the whole challenge, and you sort of named it, is that there's this belief that it's an either or,
Mm,
that either you are living a purpose driven life, either you're caring and compassionate and care about people, or you're a profit focused business guy, right?
hmm.
And I'm trying to change that conversation to say, no, it's an and. So I know lots of people, quite frankly, that work in the church and not for profits that are wonderful, great human beings. And I've met some that aren't that great. And I can say the same for business, right? There's some people in business that are cutthroat and people are expendable and all of that horrible stuff we hear about. But there's also lots, and actually more than that, of people in business that genuinely care about their people or want to, and are business focused. So I'm really saying, look, you can't. It's not an either or. It's not either you're business focused or people focused. It's not hard side of the business, soft side of the business. It's business, and the power in business and the greatest businesses is your ability to harness your people. So I always say that profit might drive your business, but or be the fuel, sorry, but people drive it, right? So profit's the fuel, but people drive it, and you need both. And we need to start to understand at a deeper level that we can make tough business decisions. We can hold people accountable. We can do difficult things and still care about them why we do it.
Right. It reminds me of a book called The Man of Steel and Velvet. I don't know if you ever heard of that book at all, but
No, I
it's an
have.
older copy. Really helped change my life some 15 years ago. Anyways, and really hits home. When you're thinking about the human condition, what are some sense of urgency points right now in your dealings when you're talking about the softer human condition side of the business? What are some things that kind of rise to the top?
In terms of what people are
Yeah,
worried about
yeah,
or,
what they're
or
concerned
challenged with,
about, or really what's needed right now in our culture and society when it comes to understanding that side of the business.
compassion.
Culture, compassion.
There, yeah, it's this. There's like I say, I think the biggest myth is that you're either kind of hard or soft, right? Like you're either a leader that, the idea that if I care about my employees means somehow they're going to get away with things. It means that somehow I'm not about business anymore, or I'm not about metrics.
Hmm.
And I'm saying you can be both. And in fact, look, we only need to think about, or I can think about my own experience as a student, right? That there was teachers that, quite frankly, I didn't get along with that well. When they asked me to do things, or they would maybe criticize me or coach me, I didn't really take it. And then there was teachers that, of course, that I really admired and respected and loved. And man, when they corrected me or asked of something of me, I worked harder, right? And I know it's because they genuinely wanted me to succeed. And so it actually just makes good business sense, if we can call it that, to care about those that we work with. You know, Being in both worlds, and consulting, and also working as a corporate executive,
Hmm.
it's almost like we check our humanity out the door, and then we slide into a suit and change our speech and become very professional. And this is what people struggle with at work: is we are human beings, we're relational, we're used to being in community, we want to be in community, and yet we don't know how to express that appropriately or feel we even can, in the workplace.
Wow, wow. And that's totally important for those that are in business and those that conduct professions and run companies. That we can be, and I'm including myself. We can uh, have both feet on both sides of the fence, so to speak. But also, I wouldn't say both sides of the fence. I would say tearing down the fence, and it's one yard,
Hmm.
one lawn, and it all works together. Um, Jeffrey, tell me, how important is clarity when it comes to business and life, in your opinion?
To clarity.
Yeah.
Well, this is interesting because you would think that when I'm working inside companies, it's maybe all I don't know, kumbaya and rainbows. It certainly isn't. I have a model I use around accountability and results, and it starts with people getting very clear about the results they're supposed to be achieving, right,
Mm,
um, in their role, and that extends to the results that I expect them to be achieving in terms of how they're working with their coworkers, which means how I help them, how I collaborate, how I cooperate, how I share information, how I don't withhold information, all of those sorts of things. How I grow and develop my people, how I hold myself accountable, how I measure my own performance. And a lot of times, my experience is that individuals and organizations, even at the highest level, if you ask them what the result is that they're trying to deliver, they can't answer the question. They'll answer the question with the corporate mission statement, or they'll give you a list of all the things they do in the day. But why they do all those things is very hard for them to articulate. So one of the
mm.
things I do is I help them get very clear about what those results are. And when people are really clear about those, Milton, it's a lot easier to correct, coach, and hold people accountable to them. It's not as murky and gray anymore.
Do you find a struggle when you start thinking about clarity when you're coaching and advising? Do people tense up more so? Is it like a deer at a gate? Like
Yeah.
how do
Well,
you?
I think first of all, yeah, it's a longer process than what you might think, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I can just whip off my results statement. And I have my own process for that where, it's sort of a combination where you can't just list everything, but you have to have the key things in there. Let me give you an example. And my kids to this day loathe this, but when they were little, I have two girls, and I might be like most parents. I'd walk in the room and oh my goodness, this room is a mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say, pick up your clothes, make your bed, and vacuum your floor, right? And so I'd come back an hour later, and they will have done those three things, and I'll say, but look, you didn't dust, and you didn't hang your clothes up, and you didn't do this, this, and this, and their response inevitably would be that of most employees, which is, you didn't tell me to do that, right?
Mm.
So then I'd start saying to them, okay, your room's a mess. Here's what I want you to do. And they laugh at this. I'd say, I want you to wow me when I come back by how clean, tidy, and presentable your room is. So now they have a result, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's the result in their mind, now they know, oh, well, I got to make my bed. I got to pick up my clothes. I got to vacuum. I got to dust. I got to do these things because the result is in their mind, not just the list of things they do. And I will say for every individual and organization and every department, it's the same thing. And what I discover is, it's an additive process because even with sort of department results, is there's key things they miss. And as you go through the exercise, they go, yeah, that's what they do. And so my question is, okay, if you delivered that every day, would the CEO or the owners or the shareholders, the board of directors be excited? Would they jump up and down and go, wow, that's exactly what I expected of you? And if the answer is yes, then that's what you got to go do. And you'll figure out what to do when you know what that result is that you're supposed to be achieving.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Now let me ask you this. I want you to consult me, Jeff, if you could. I'm a guy that really loves the people side. I love compassion. I love helping people and serving people, but I know it's not sustainable financially. I need to know. I know I need to think about the business side of things. How would you go about helping me cross that bridge and
Hmm.
focus on some things that are very important in the now and what I can focus on for future?
Yeah, so I use a map that I call my four Ps, okay? So if you think of a clock, at 12 o'clock, we write the word purpose.
Hmm.
At 3 o'clock, the word people, 6 o'clock productivity, and at 9 o'clock performance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so the first thing, and this applies to whether it's your job, your career, your family, your parenting, or whatever you're doing. At the purpose space, it's what is it I'm trying to create, right? I'm trying to create a family that does X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to create a business that realizes X in profit or revenue a year, but achieves this, and this, right? It's what is it you're really intending to create, and without going too far down this path, this is pivotal because a lot of people don't articulate the intention, right? They just kind of bob through life, right? Or you're at work and you go, yeah, I got some ideas in my head of what I might want to do, and 6 months go by, and then 3 years go by, and 10 years go by, and you're kind of in the same place. So you have to articulate what it is I'm trying to create. And then in the people space, it's, well, who are the people of influence? What are the key relationships I need to nurture? Now, if you're a guy that's kind of naturally good at that, which it sounds like in your example you would be, building relationship and compassion, you're probably not going to have a lot of challenges there. But the challenge comes in the next, which is productivity, which is to say, now, what are the activities I need to be doing that's going to get me to that purpose, right? It's no different than somebody saying, I want to lose 30 pounds. And they tell their friends in the people space, they tell everybody about it, they blog about it, they Facebook, they put up funny quotes about it, but they don't go to the gym and do the 5 workouts or the 3 workouts a week.
Right.
Okay. So if they're not doing that, they're not going to get their purpose. And then in their performance space is to evaluate, how's that going? Is it working? Am I getting any closer to that result? And if so, keep going. If not, okay, what do I have to change? What do I have to shift? And so we just want to keep moving around this map, and at different points in our businesses we'll feel pressure in different places, and we got to identify that and move clockwise around it.
Wow, that's good. I like that. People, purpose, productivity, and performance. Did I get all those right?
That's right. Yeah, or profit in the performance space, however you want to think about it, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is people will often go. So you have to go clockwise. So a typical one is a business faces financial pressure in some ways, right? Not meeting sales targets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They'll tend not to visit their brand or their identity in the purpose space. They tend to go backwards, right? Counterclockwise to the productivity. And you'll find businesses will start getting really busy. They'll be trying to grab money wherever they can. They'll start selling things that have nothing to do with their company, and they get really off purpose, and it doesn't help, right?
Wow.
And instead of going the other way and saying, who are we? What are we really about? Let's focus hard on that. Who are the customers or the market we need to be really focused on, engaged? What are the things that we're going to do? And then we'll evaluate our performance.
That's awesome. I like that. And I'm just, as you're speaking, I'm visualizing some of the company organizations I've been a part of and how they do that. they do go backwards instead of understanding that you got to go clockwise and really invest. I think I'm grateful to work with a company now that really I believe understands this people, purpose, productivity, and profit analogy and a guideline. And so, yeah, it does hits home. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And Maximizers, if you are dealing with that, and like Jeffrey's talking about, if you're even on the more task, production, profit side or productivity side and wanting to increase, there's some things you've got to do I believe on the intent, the purpose, and the people side of things too. So keep those quadrants in mind when you're looking for achievement and success. So thank you for sharing that, Jeff. I know there's so much you can probably share today, and I don't want to steal all of your material and what you do as far as your coaching, which I know you probably be willing to share anyways. But wanted to also spend some time, and I know we're going to have an opportunity for you to have people follow up if they want to learn more about what you're doing and how to get some coaching, consulting, possibly at the end of the show here. But wanted to get into our maximizing moment questions if you're ready for that as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love this. Yeah, let's see what you got.
All right. So Jeff, give me your favorite quote and explain why and how it helps you.
Yeah, so my favorite quote, this might surprise people, is, of all deceivers, fear most yourself.
Ooh. Oh.
And how it helps is that I think we're often blind to our impact on others. And so especially when we're stressed, right, or under pressure, is we're pretty good at pointing out and naming what others are failing to do for us, or what it's like to work with Milton or what have you. But we don't normally reverse it and say, well, what's it like for him? Yeah, what's it like for Milton to have to work with me? What's it like for the other to be my colleague or to have me manage them, especially when we're sort of at our worst, right, or in those high pressure situations.
Yeah.
So it's really about that self awareness, and I do believe you asked this kind of earlier. It's still a big challenge in organizations. Is I'm continually surprised of how unaware a number of people are about how they present themselves, about their own sort of impact and identity. And that goes for myself as well.
Right. We're always
Yeah.
growing and learning about ourselves, or we should be, anyways. But I love that taking ownership and looking within versus always, yeah, making excuses without. So I appreciate that. Next
hmm
question for you, Jeff, is this: give me a moment where, when looking back, you let slip away, and it impacted your life at some level.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I can give you just one. Um, there's, I tend to be a guy that I like ideas, and I'm kind of constantly sort of getting involved in things, and that's in that people space, right? And what happens is sometimes opportunities are right there and you don't follow through. Um, and I think actually salespeople typically are notorious for this, right? They make the initial call, but they don't do the follow up calls. And the best salespeople know they have to move into the follow up and keep following up and keep following up. And it's not in their natural tendency, their natural tendency to do that.
Mm.
So I think there's lots of moments where I probably could have really sort of accelerated or capitalized on things, and I waited too long or I moved on too quick.
That's a good example. I know there's so many out there, but yeah, being I say always be following up, right? Always be in follow up mode really is
hmm
impactful when it comes to business and success, personally and professionally. Good, Jeff. So next question: have you ever had a time where you knew there was more for you to do in life or accomplish, but were in a position or job or career that didn't quite line up with that? How did you maximize that moment?
Yeah, so not too long ago. So when I left the corporate executive job, it's because we sold the company, and so then I was in this space of what am I going to do? And a couple of years ago, I got involved as a founder in a tech startup, and that's stressful anyway, right? A new
Mm.
company, tech space, which I didn't know a lot about, but learned, and it just was a grind and was not fulfilling. And there was a moment where, I really had to look at sort of the partnership I had, and I didn't feel it was value aligned in lots of ways, but I was really just kind of chasing building this business,
Hmm.
and I exited that. And the moment I did, um, I had business coming in for my magnanimous company. I had clarity. My stress was gone. It was a huge shift, and just sort of taught me again, right? Sometimes some of us have to learn the same lessons over and over, but
Yeah.
just stay true to that purpose and be clear about what you want to create, and don't get distracted with things that really aren't ultimately getting you there. So, that was a big shift for me, and a big learning, and yeah, yeah. I think so. How did I maximize it? I got out of it and focused on what's important to me.
That's awesome. And maximizers, and Jeffrey talked about it. You always got to be thinking about the process, thinking about yourself as far as how you can grow in this situation, but also take the time to, while you're in it, learn what you need to learn, and then you can also find ways to pursue that purpose and passion as well. So thanks for sharing that, Jeff. And this is going to probably back up on that, but do you have a story of a time that, when maximizing the moment, was important or meaningful to you?
Uh, yeah, I think I have lots of those. I think even right back to as a teenager deciding what to where to go to school and what to take. It was really making a choice of what was meaningful, right? Which was to pursue sort of a liberal arts education, and then do my master's in divinity, kind of going that church route. It was, I certainly, it wasn't the best business decision to make, right? It was a choice congruent with who I am, or who I was in that moment. And I think there's lots of times where hopefully I've made choices, and it's certainly not all the time, with my children, or showing up at events, or just staying present to someone, that have been very impactful or meaningful. I mean, I've had the privilege of, being with people as they've sort of passed from this world to the next, and just sitting with families in sort of times of grief, but also times of joy, and I think making the decision in those moments to just be with the other, were definitely important moments.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Here's my $1,000,000 question. I'd love to ask it, but how would you define a maximizing moment, Jeff?
So a maximizing moment. A maximizing moment is when there is a connection or a synergy or an alignment between what it is you feel you are to offer to the world or the community, or your business or your colleagues, whatever that is, kind of at the essence of who you are. You see it, and you take the action to deliver on it. And so, it's one thing to recognize it. It's the other thing to stay with it and then actually see it through. And to me, that's a true maximizing moment. I talk about this in my work a little bit with empathy and compassion. Empathy being the ability to stand inside the heart or the experience of the other. And, if we can do that, that's great. But, there's no action with that. To me, compassion is the actionable steps I take when I feel empathy for another. So I have a colleague, right, that's struggling in his work even, right? I might recognize that and see that and go, wow, that's really kind of sucks for him. But compassion would say, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go offer to help him with this project, right? It's that next actionable. And that, to me, that's a maximizing moment.
Very well said. Very well said. Thank you very much. Now, Maximize are all about immediate action steps. Jeffrey, I know you've got 3 immediate action steps for a maximizer to take advantage of a defining moment. What would that be?
For a person to maximize a moment, well, 3 actionable steps. I'm going to go back. It sounds repetitive to the 4 Ps, right? If you want to maximize a moment in your life, be very clear about what it is that you want, right? What it is you're trying to create. Make sure you're surrounding yourself and building the appropriate relationships. So with people, and then do the steps that are in line with with what it is you want to create. You see this a lot in business, right? Or historically, people always tell you business or family's most important. Covey talks about this and everything else. And then you look at a calendar and it isn't, right? So if you really want to create a rich, meaningful relationships with your spouse and your children, let's say that's what you want to do. Well, are you spending the time you need to nurture those relationships so that these aren't just kind of shallow or, pass in the night types of relationships? And are you doing the things that you need to do to make sure that happens? If that's what you want to create now, right? And the challenge is sometimes we kind of have this idea about what we should want to create or what others want us to create, but it's not really what we want to create. And so you got to get clear about that first. You see, when we get clear about what we want to create or what our intention is, actually what happens is a whole bunch of stuff goes away. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm 100% committed to that, it's freeing. People think it's restrictive. It's not. It's the opposite. If I say, I'm not going to eat bread anymore, okay?
Yeah.
Let's just make something up, but I'm not going to eat bread. What happens is people commit 99% to that, and they go, well, and it's the weekend, and we have friends over, and so I'll have bread with dinner, right? Or and then Tuesday's my wife's birthday, and we're going out for pizza, so I'll have bread then. And pretty soon you're eating bread. If you just commit 100%, I'm not. You never have to think about it again. You don't have any of this gaming, any of these justifications. And so I think it's the same with life itself. It's about clarity and focus on what it is I want to create, right? What my intention is. And when I know what that is and I commit to it, a whole bunch of stuff goes away.
Right. I love that clarity. It's like blinders on in a race, for a horse. That's like they're
Yeah.
focused on that finish line, and anything around them is a distraction. But if you have true clarity, you can say no and really run with freedom, and run with passion. And I think that's important to know, maximizers. Thank you for that. So, any parting words from you, Jeff? Comments or instructions? Couple minutes you can share and really give what you want to leave behind.
Yeah, if there might be lots of things, but my one of my mantras is bring your humanity to work, and if there's something I can leave with people, it's this: that your influence with other people, your ability to sort of more than get along, but really connect and have success either in your own career or and with others, um, isn't about learning new skills and abilities. It's not about speaking differently. I mean, I'm not sure yelling or something, I suppose. It really is a shift in our mindset. It's really a shift to seeing them as fellow human beings, as equals. So our influence with people really comes down to whether we genuinely care about them, and people can tell. People can tell when we're faking it, right? They just know. And so if any of us right now think about colleagues or bosses or managers that we have, I think we all know right in these 2 seconds whether they really care about our success or not. And then the question is, if I feel they don't really care about my success, does that inspire me to work harder? Does that breed trust and loyalty? No, it doesn't. So all the things that engage us and bring out the best in people and allow us to achieve great things together comes down to whether we really care about each other as people and each other's success.
Wow, that's good. I like that. I like that. Awesome. You've given me so much today to chew on personally, and I know you've given Maximize the same thing, Jeff. Thanks you for your time and wisdom today. How can we find you? Where do you want people to look you up at, or what do you think you're promoting right now? Or
Yeah. So yeah, great. Well, look, I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn and all those sorts of things. My website is up right now. We're doing a rehaul on it, but it's magnanimous.ca. So .ca is a Canadian tag.
okay,
Yeah. So www.magnanimous.ca. There is a way to inquire on there and connect with me, but certainly through if you find me on Facebook or on LinkedIn as well. Yeah, currently I've got a writing project that is taking more time than it should, but I do have a book that I'm working on right now, and probably in about 6 months there'll be an e-course available as well. But in the meantime, I do coaching and training, working from everything from businesses, entrepreneurial businesses that need to refocus or transitioning right to a family member or those sorts of things, right to national corporate clients, where I'm working with full management teams and leadership.
awesome. I know that what you're doing is really special. So, maximizers, please look up Jeffrey. Find him on social media. I know he's at Twitter, LinkedIn, Jeff Chant, and magnanimous.ca. So, thank you so much. And it's all about taking action, maximizers. If you take the action towards what's important and maximize the moment today, you will find success in your life. So thank you, Jeffrey, for your time. Don't take it for granted. And truly, I know that the Maximizers are really going to be grateful for listening today. So thank you so much.
And thank you.
Awesome. Maximizers, understand that every time we put out an episode, it is truly to help you maximize any given moment in your life towards success. If you really got something out of this, do me a favor, pass it on, share it on your social media streams, and look up Jeffrey and follow him as well. God bless you guys, and we'll definitely talk to you soon.